In this video, I'll be discussing the Federal Reserve's quantitative tightening for the month of July. Also, I'm going to give you a warning regarding the stock market because I believe the media is misleading everyday investors. If you want regular updates on our economic situation with no sugarcoating, then please subscribe. First things first, let's see what the Fed did for the month of July. On July 5th, the Federal Reserve removed $38.9 billion. On July 12th, the withdrawal amounted to $2.3 billion. On July 19th, the Fed removed $20.5 billion. On July 26th, the Fed removed $22.8 billion. Overall, for the month of July, the Fed removed a total of $84.5 billion. In comparison, for the month of June, the Fed removed $41.3 billion. And in May, the Fed removed $120.9 billion. Apart from the quantitative tightening, the Fed has been rising interest rates to fight inflation. The current rate stands at 5.5% after the Fed raised it by 0.25% during their recent meeting. Also, I believe there will be more rate hikes during this economic cycle. Moving on to corporate profits, many corporations on the stock market are currently reporting their earnings results for the past 3 months, and you may come across headlines claiming that these earnings are exceeding expectations, suggesting that everything is going great. However, I must tell you that this is far from the truth. In reality, corporate earnings are not on an upward trend. They are actually declining. The media's portrayal of an overly optimistic picture is inaccurate, and I fear that investors may soon face unexpected losses as the situation could drastically change. Let me give you an example to help you understand the gravity of this situation. Let's take an example of an athlete aiming to qualify by finishing a race within 20 minutes. However, the media creates a misleading narrative, suggesting that the athlete can complete the race in 40 minutes, setting very low expectations. Now, if the athlete manages to finish the race in 30 minutes, the headlines might falsely claim that they exceeded expectations. But in reality, the athlete's performance fell short because the actual target was to complete the race in 20 minutes, not 30. So, despite the misleading headlines, the athlete didn't meet the required standard, and the focus should remain on the original goal of finishing within 20 minutes. In a similar manner, the current media portrayal of corporations' earnings might exaggerate their performance, creating a false impression that everything is going exceptionally well. In truth, corporate earnings are declining, and investors need to be cautious about misleading narratives. The reason why companies appear to beat expectations is because the expectations have been significantly lowered, and this trend is prevalent in the stock markets. Corporate profits have been declining year over year, with Q4 of 2022 showing a 4.6% decrease, Q1 of 2023 experiencing a 2% drop, and the ongoing Q2 of 2023 starting off poorly with a 7% decline in earnings. Despite these alarming figures, analysts have drastically adjusted their expectations to be more optimistic. If you read the headlines, they may sound positive and promising, but it's crucial to recognize that they are misleading investors. My intention is not to be negative, but to provide an honest assessment of the situation. While some may not appreciate this honesty, I believe it's essential to present the facts as they are. The situation has become somewhat absurd, with 80% of earnings reports claiming to beat expectations. Logically, this raises questions about the accuracy of the analyst's assessments. If you were an analyst who excels at their job, you would aim to be right most of the time, underestimating around 10% and overestimating another 10%, with the majority of your predictions aligning closely with actual outcomes. However, if the analysts consistently get it wrong 80% of the time, it suggests either a lack of competence or the deliberate provision of unrealistic expectations. This calls into question the reliability of these reports and the need for investors to stay cautious and well-informed. If you find that around 80% of the time the predictions fall short, it raises suspicions about the accuracy of these reports. So, when you read the headlines, I want you to be aware of the games being played in the market. There are 3 ways you can position yourself in response to this situation. Option 1. You can accept the reality that most people don't fully grasp what's happening, and many retail investors will be deceived by the misleading headlines. You can follow the trend and ride the market's ups, but be cautious and ready to exit before reality sets in or the situation changes drastically. Option 2. Alternatively, you can take a proactive approach and get ahead of the curve. Understand the true state of affairs and adjust your position accordingly. Even if the media portrays a positive picture, be aware that the underlying situation may be getting worse. Option 3. Another option is to adopt a buy and hold strategy. You can choose to ignore the frenzy around earnings reports in the short term and focus on your long-term investment approach. Short-term fluctuations and misleading headlines should not sway your overall investment decisions. Ultimately, The choice is yours. But above all, I want you to be well informed and aware of the actual situation, even if it contrasts with the media's portrayal. Staying informed and making thoughtful decisions is essential in navigating the complex world of the stock market. Currently, companies are in the process of reporting their Q2 earnings for 2023. The timing of these reports may vary, with some companies following a calendar year, while others operate on a fiscal year basis. Typically, earnings for the months of April, May, and June are reported during July and August. Approximately 10% of the companies listed on the S&P 500 have already reported their earnings, and the numbers are indicating a concerning trend. Earnings have shown a decline of 7%, marking the most significant drop since Q2 of 2020 when the economy faced lockdowns due to the pandemic. This decline also makes it the third consecutive quarter where earnings have fallen, leading to what is now being referred to as an earnings recession. But the situation is even more troubling. When investors speak of earnings, they are talking about corporate profits, and Goldman Sachs is warning that revenue growth may become stagnant. This would be the first time since the lockdowns that sales have the potential to go negative. In essence, both profits and sales are facing a downturn, creating a challenging environment for companies. What adds a sense of absurdity to the situation is that a staggering 80% of the earnings results are currently beating expectations. Essentially, everyone seems to be receiving a trophy for their performance. However, upon closer inspection, this is not an isolated occurrence. Over the past 5 years, 77% of earnings results have exceeded expectations, and the 10-year average stands at 73%. This ongoing pattern of surpassing expectations is making the situation even more puzzling and exacerbating the concerns about the accuracy and transparency of these reports. When you come across headlines stating that results have exceeded expectations, it's important to delve deeper and ask whether companies made more or less money compared to the previous year. Simply reading the headlines won't provide the full picture. This is why, for some companies, meeting expectations may result in a sharp decline in their stock value. For example, Microsoft beat the expectation, but the stock is down 3%. Microsoft's market cap is around $2.5 trillion. So, 3% down is not a small percentage. Understanding these details is crucial. Currently, the situation is becoming more concerning as corporate profits are declining. This raises the question, why is the stock market still going up? The reason lies in the majority's belief that the worst is behind us, and the recession has ended as of June 30th. The expectation is that starting from July 1st, corporate profits will soar. Take a look at the consensus forecast of earnings per share for the S&P 500 in Q2 of 2023. It is anticipated to be the bottom, and we have already passed that point. Moving forward, Q3 July, August, and September are expected to witness near all-time record high corporate profits, followed by new highs in Q4 of this year. Furthermore, in 2024, there is anticipation of an economic boom like never seen before. This positive projection is fueled by the belief that the AI revolution has arrived, bringing a significant increase in economic activity and productivity. The boost from AI is expected to skyrocket corporate profits from July 1st this year and well into 2024 and 2025. This narrative forms the basis for the positive outlook in the stock market. I would like to hear your thoughts on the narrative I presented. Personally, I believe that AI will indeed be a game changer for certain companies and industries. However, I remain cautious about whether it will have an immediate and significant impact on the overall corporate profits of the S&P 500. It seems premature to conclude that this technological shift will bring about an immediate transformation. In contrast to the optimistic outlook, I don't believe that we have seen the worst of the economic situation. Instead, I think that there are challenging times ahead. GDP and corporate profits have been declining for 3 consecutive quarters, and while some predict a turning point in July, August, and September with a booming economy and strong corporate profits, I am more skeptical. Personally, my investment thesis is grounded in macroeconomics and monetary policy, which I like to consider as common sense. I believe there is more downside risk in the current economic climate. I am patiently waiting for developments, but I also acknowledge that markets can be irrational for longer than one can stay solvent. Nonetheless, I remain solvent and maintain my stance based on my understanding of monetary policy and its limits. However, I must emphasize that these are my personal opinions and perspectives on the current situation. So let me know what you think. In upcoming videos, I'm going to be covering the Fed pivot and other important economic updates. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching. Until next time.